Yeah, I All right. Hi, you guys. How are you today? I think we're going to go ahead and get started. If people come in, log in late, feel free to let them in. If you see they're logging in later on, they're welcome to join us anytime. But we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jen, and I am here at Barcy Ranch. We have a farm. So we've got some farm animals here. We're out in Berryville, Virginia, so northwestern corner of Virginia. And so we have farm animals. We have sheep and goats and things like that. We're going to see some of them in this tour, but we also are licensed as a zoo. So I live at a zoo, and I have a bunch of animals that you probably wouldn't normally see at a farm. You would typically see in the wild or at a zoo, and we're going to meet some of them too. Before I get started, I want to thank the Friends of the Chesterfield Library because they are the ones who made this show possible. And I'm super excited to visit with you guys. Normally, I would be visiting people in person, but we do live a little ways from you guys. Starting last year, when everything started being virtual, we started doing virtual programs. And it has given me the opportunity to visit people like you that I might not get to see because we live a little bit of a ways from you. So it's a little farther to travel. So what we're going to do today is I am going to introduce you to some of the animals that live at my house and on our farm. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. As we go, if you guys want to know something that I don't tell you about, if you guys see something that I don't talk about, feel free to unmute, ask your questions. If you feel more comfortable typing it into the chat, that's fine too, but you're welcome to just unmute yourselves and ask. I want to tell you about stuff that you're interested in. So I want to share with you stuff that you want to hear about. Oh my goodness, somebody's wiggly. We're going to talk about him first because he wants to get down and run around. He's been in his pouch a lot today. This is Wendell, and Wendell is a red kangaroo. He's a joey, so he's a baby red kangaroo, and he is about 9 months old. Say hi, Wendell. Say hi, buddy. So he is still nursing. He's still getting milk, but his mom needed some help. So he came to us from another facility, from another zoo, and I get to be his mom until he's big enough to go out with the big kangaroos. So Wendell likes to be carried around because mommy kangaroos carry their babies in a pouch. So this is Wendell's pouch, and he likes to be carried around in his bag here. Since I don't have a pouch on my belly like a mommy kangaroo does, he gets to ride around in his purse. And he does very much like being in his purse. But now that he's getting a little bit bigger, yes, he's wanting to be out of his pouch a little bit more. If he was with his mommy kangaroo, she would probably be making him walk all the time or hop all the time and not ride around in his pouch, in her pouch anymore, because he is too big for a kangaroo to carry. Mommy kangaroos are not that big, so they don't really want to have to carry a baby who's about 15 pounds. I know, you're going to get down in a minute. Can you get down in a minute? You want to hop around? He wants to explore. So he would be out of the pouch full time right now, but he would be still with his mom all the time, and he would still be getting milk from her, as well as eating solid foods. They eat a lot of things like grass and leaves and seeds. Sometimes they'll even eat the roots of plants, but upside down. And they get a lot of their water actually from the roots of the plants. Do you want to get down? You can get down. All right, I'll let you down to hop around. You are just one wiggly boy. All right, there you go. Let me let him hop a little bit. Let's see if I can get the camera so you can actually see him hop a little. It's a little darker down. Let me see if I can get some better light. Way down here on the floor. Here we go. Hi. Hello, Wendell. Are we moving the show down here to your level? So Wendell does know how to hop, and he does like to hop around, but usually he only wants to do it for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then he would like to be picked up again. Just like with human kids, sometimes it's nice if your parents will carry you around. And he feels the same way. He likes to be carried around on occasion, but he also likes to get out and run around and hop and play and exercise. So you can see he mostly uses his big back seat to carry his weight, but he can also use his little front arms. But when he puts his front arms down to walk, he also uses this great big long tail that he has. He has a super strong tail, and it works almost like another leg. So he puts it down on the ground when he puts his front feet down so that he can help himself carry his weight. Because His front arms are not very strong. Their front arms are a little bit weaker than their back legs. Their back legs are super, super strong, and they've got enormous back feet that they use for hopping. And those great big strong back legs and back feet are how they can hop. And they can hop really far. When he is grown up, he'll be able to go about 20 feet in one jump, which is pretty far. Whoop. We're getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if we have maybe somebody who's not muted. Let's see if we can. Oh, there we go. That's better. Now I can hear you guys. Or now I can hear myself. So they use those great big tails to help them balance and those big back legs to jump. They can go about 20 feet in one leap when they're jumping really fast, when they're full grown. Oh, there he goes. He's going to show you how he's jumping. He says, I'm leaving. Oh, hi, Gus. This is our not exotic animal. This is our dog, Gus. He's kind of an old man, but he likes to be wherever I am. So he comes and helps me with, when we visit with kids, he likes to come and help too, because he likes to be part of the action. All right, well, I'm going to let Wendell hop around because he's ready to hop. And we're going to talk about one of our other animals. So we have another animal, and a lot of times this animal gets confused with a kangaroo because they have a little bit of a similar face. And when they sit up, they kind of look a little bit like a kangaroo. Oh my goodness, will you come up here in my lap for a second? So this is Patty, and Patty is what's called a Patagonian Cavey or a Mara. And Patagonian Caveys come from Argentina. They come from South America. They live way down in the bottom of South America. So a lot of animals that we think of, when we think of South America, we often think of the rainforest and a hot tropical climate. But these guys come from the Pampas, which is a grasslands area. So it actually gets quite cold in the wintertime, just like it does here. So these guys have seasons just like we do, and they live where it's big, wide open spaces, and they are really fast runners. Even though they look a little bit like a kangaroo, they're not related to kangaroos. They're not a marsupial. They don't have a pouch. They're actually a rodent. So these guys are more closely related to things like rats and mice, and actually they're in the same part of the rodent family as guinea pigs. So they make a lot of the same noises as guinea pigs. I know, you want to put your feet down? Will you make little rodent noises? Let's see if she'll talk to us a little bit. Will you talk to us? There we go. So Patty has rodent teeth, which is pretty cool. One of the things that all rodents have in common are their big front teeth. These guys have really long incisors, or their front teeth, the ones that we use to kind of bite into an apple. And their teeth grow their entire lives. So you guys have probably, some of you have probably lost teeth, because we lose our teeth and then grow new ones as we get older. A lot of mammals do that. We have camels, and they lose their teeth. They start losing their teeth when they're about 4 years old, and they get adult teeth. They lose their baby teeth, they get adult teeth. These guys do it a little differently. Their teeth actually continue to grow throughout their lives. So they have to chew on stuff to wear their teeth down. If they don't chew on things, their teeth will get too long and they won't be able to eat properly. A rat's teeth can grow 5 inches in 1 year, which is crazy. A rat with 5-inch teeth would not be able to get food in past those teeth. So they have to chew on things all the time to help wear their teeth down and keep their teeth from getting too long. The advantage of having teeth that grow all the time is that you can chew through stuff that other animals can't chew through, because if we chewed on things like rocks and wood and metal, it would wear our teeth down. We wouldn't have any teeth left because we only get our baby teeth and our adult teeth, and we got to take care of them after that, right? We don't get any more after that. These guys, because their teeth grow all the time, they can actually chew through stuff that we could not chew through, like trees. So beavers are actually rodents, and they can use their teeth to cut down a tree. So that's a pretty impressive thing. I know she would like to get down. She sees Wendell hopping around, and she is friends with Wendell. So Wendell and Patty are actually still living in our house because they're just babies. You may get down. You can get down and play. They're just babies. So a lot of the time when the babies need a little bit of extra help and they need to be bottle fed, they actually come and live in my house with me for a little while until they're big enough to go out with our bigger animals and live outdoors. So there you go. They're still living inside the house right now, and they live together. So they like to run around and play together. Oh, Wendell's coming back. Here they come. Hi, buddy. There's a kangaroo under my chair. All right, let me show you another animal. We've seen some fluffy ones. I'm going to show you a scaly one. You guys like scaly animals? I like scaly animals. They're pretty cool. Let's see if we can find him. He likes to bury himself underneath the hay. Where are you? There you are, handsome. Come here. Come see us. Oh, my goodness. You got hay all over you. Let's see if we can get all the hay off of you, silly boy. All right, this is Skippy. And Skippy, who is covered in hay, is a really cool reptile. He's called a blue-tongued skink. And skinks are a type of lizard. We actually have skinks here in Virginia, but our skinks do not get as big as Skippy. Skippy is a type of skink that comes from Australia, and they are super, super neat. They are called blue-tongued skinks because they actually have a blue tongue. And a lot of times Skippy will show us his, there it is. He'll show us his pretty blue tongue because not only does he use it to show off how pretty he is and to kind of display for other predators to let them know that he might be a scary animal, which is a weird thing to do, to show off your tongue to look scary, but it works because a lot of animals are very surprised that he has a blue tongue and they'll kind of leave him alone. But he also uses it to help him smell. So he does have a nose. You can see, oh, he's licking my finger. He's smelling my finger. He has a little nose that he can use to sniff with, but he also has that beautiful blue tongue. So when he wants to smell something, he'll kind of flick that tongue out and the smells stick to his tongue. And then he pulls it into his mouth. He rubs it against the top of his mouth and he has something in there called a Jacobson's organ, which helps him to smell. So every time he sticks out that pretty blue tongue, he's smelling to see what's around and see if there's any good snacks. You guys have any skink snacks with you over there on your end of the camera? These guys actually like to eat some really interesting foods. A lot of times people don't think that they would like to eat the same thing as a lizard, but you might be surprised. So I can see a few of you. We'll see if I can see you, and you can type it into the chat too. Raise your hand or type it in the chat so you can just say yes or hit the like button or whatever. If you guys like bananas. Do you guys like bananas? I like bananas. There you go. All right. Raise your hand if you like strawberries. Strawberries. How about raise your hand if you like, what else does he love? Chicken nuggets. Any of you guys like chicken nuggets? Yeah. All right. How about raise your hand if you like scrambled eggs? You guys like scrambled eggs? Okay. So these are all foods that Skippy actually likes. He doesn't actually get chicken nuggets because the breading isn't very good for him, but he does get some chicken. How about raise your hand if you like mice? Does anybody like to eat mice? I don't know. I don't think I really like to eat mice. How about bugs? Anybody a big bug eater? No, I'm seeing a lot of people say maybe not so much. Okay, so maybe we don't like all the same foods that Skippy likes, but some of the foods are very similar. And like I said, he doesn't get chicken nuggets very often or ever. He gets cooked chicken occasionally in the wild. He would definitely not find chicken nuggets out in the wild in Australia, but they might find a small bird and he will eat small birds. He will eat small mice. He will eat bugs, but he is an omnivore. So he will eat both meat and vegetables. He loves fruit. These guys will eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Now, just like us. Oh, yeah.
We have someone in the comments who says they have skinks in their yard. Are they here in Virginia as well?
Yes, yeah, we've got 5-line skinks, I believe, and blue tail skinks. So they're blue on the other end. Like I said, they're much smaller than these guys, but they're in the same family. Our skinks are very fast runners, but they do a lot of times eat similar things. They eat a lot of bugs and things like that. So yeah, we have skinks here that are really cool. The blue-tailed skinks are beautiful that we have here. They're really neat. So these guys like a lot of different foods. No, a little something in your face there. It's all dirty. They like a lot of different foods, but they are also very picky sometimes. He is a very picky eater. Skippy is an older skink. We actually don't know how old he is for sure. He's been with us for about 8 years. Before that, he was at another zoo for several years, and he was a donation to them. He was dropped off. He was somebody's pet, and they decided they couldn't keep him anymore, and they gave him to the zoo. And so we don't know how long they had him, but he's at least a teenager. So he is getting up there in years, and he has decided that he's pretty picky about what he likes to eat. He has certain foods that he likes and certain foods that he does not like that other skinks would eat. He's not a huge fan of bugs, not a big bug eater. When he was younger, he would eat a few bugs, but now he's like, not really into that. He loves anything sweet. So Skippy has a sweet tooth and he loves bananas, melon, berries. Now he will eat eggs, so at least we can get some protein into him that way. He does like his eggs, but he is a little bit of a picky guy and he really loves to eat sweet foods. Any of you guys have a sweet tooth? Do you guys like your sweet foods? I kind of tend to like sweet things too. So I get it. And I love fruit. So I totally am with him. But it is important to have a really balanced diet. So we do have to kind of make sure that he gets some of his protein too. And like I said, he does like eggs. So that's a nice way for us to get protein into him. We had another skink many years ago, same kind of skink as Skippy, exactly the same type of skink. And he was the opposite. He only wanted the meat. He liked the chicken. He liked eggs. He liked anything that was, he liked bugs, anything that was sort of meaty. And it was really hard to get him to eat his vegetables. I had to kind of sneak him in. When I'd scramble his eggs, I'd stick some veggies in there so he would eat his veggies. So even reptiles like Skippy have their own taste. They have things they like and they don't like, just like us. So which is kind of fun because a lot of times people see these guys and they don't have a lot of expression in their faces. It's sort of hard to get to know them until you've been around them a long time, but they definitely have their own personalities. Now you may notice that Skippy kind of looks like another animal. He is a lizard, but he looks a lot like a snake and he kind of moves. You can see as he's walking up along my neck here, he kind of moves like a snake too. And that's actually a form of protection for him. He looks almost exactly like a snake called a death adder. And a death adder, like it sounds, is a venomous snake that lives in Australia. He has the same color and the same pattern and the same shaped head as that venomous snake. So when predators see him, they think he's dangerous and they leave him alone. Even though we can tell that he is definitely a lizard, his little legs are teeny tiny. And so they kind of get hidden in the grass when he's walking. And so a lot of animals just assume he's a snake and they leave him alone because they think he might be dangerous. So that's a really good form of protection. It's called mimicry. Mimicking is just copying something. So he copies a venomous snake by looking like them and moving like them. And then other animals leave him alone. It works really well. Now, if that doesn't work, he can do something that's really amazing. If something tries to eat him, let's say a bird swoops down and grabs him by his tail and tries to fly away with him, he can actually drop his tail. His tail will fall off and he will grow a new one, which is amazing. Oh, Wendell. Wendell's saying hi to me down here. It's pretty cool. The skinks that you guys said you saw in your backyard can do that too. And actually the skinks that we have in Virginia, the smaller skinks, are even more likely to drop their tail than the bigger ones. Skippy is very unlikely to drop his tail because he's so big. He really doesn't have a lot of animals that are trying to eat him. But those little tiny skinks, they have more predators. A lot of birds and raccoons and things like that would like to eat a little skink, a fox. Fox loves to eat skinks. So they have a lot more predators and they will actually throw their tail. Even if the predator doesn't grab it, they will just drop their tail if they get scared. And the tail actually keeps wiggling around. So it looks like a lizard. It looks like it's the lizard. And the predator will go and grab the tail and run away. And the predator gets a little snack. The skink lives to tell the tale and they will actually grow that tail back. It takes a while. It's never as pretty the second time around, but they can do it several times throughout their lives and that can save their life. So that's a pretty crazy way of protecting yourself, but it works. And so most skinks will do that or can do that. Skippy has never done that. He has his original fancy pretty tail. And like I said, he's very unlikely at this size and age to do it, but he can, if he needed to, he could dislocate that tail and just drop it right off, which is pretty incredible. All right, Beauty Padoot, I'm gonna put you back in here for a second. Oh my goodness, you're very handsome. All right, so I have another animal that actually pretends to be a venomous snake also, and I'm going to show him to you here. He is another one that uses that for protection, that mimics another animal, but he is actually a snake. He's just not the snake that he pretends to be. They can drop their, Desiree asked if the skinks drop their tails on purpose. They do it as a reaction. They do it when they're scared and they can just let it go. And that way that tail will protect them because the tail gets left behind. The predator will leave the skink and take the tail. So they can, yeah. And a lot of those smaller skinks do it they're very quick to drop their tails. They'll just drop them and run. And then they're safe. They're pretty fast runners too. Some of them will just run away, but they can drop their tails pretty easily. So this fancy guy, this is Hamlet. And Hamlet is what's called a Western hognose snake. He's called a hognose snake because he has a little piggy nose. He has a nose like a pig. A hog is just a pig. So he's got this fun little piggy nose and he uses it for digging. It's like a little shovel built into his face. And he uses it for digging down in the dirt and leaves to hide. And he can hide from predators that way, but he also uses his color and his pattern to protect himself from predators. He looks almost exactly like a special type of rattlesnake called a prairie rattlesnake that lives in the same part of the United States. These guys are from the western part of the US that these guys live in. So because he looks like a venomous snake, predators leave him alone. and he's pretty safe. But just like the skink, he has another trick up his sleeve if that doesn't work to protect him. And that is that he is a drama queen. He is a big faker. And not only does he pretend to be a rattlesnake by looking at one, he will do a few other things that are even more dramatic. So if he's afraid, if a predator comes too close, he will rear up like a cobra. If you've ever seen videos of a cobra, they rear up, they sit up like this, and they flare their necks out. They have what's called a cape or a hood, and it flares out to make themselves look bigger. He doesn't really have a hood, but he has a lot of extra skin around the side of his face. He's got kind of little flappy skin on his cheeks there, and he'll flatten his neck out so he looks bigger, and he'll hiss really loudly. For a snake this size, and he is full grown. He's about 10 years old now. He will hiss really loudly, and he'll try to scare the predator away. He'll act like he's very super big and dangerous, which he's not, but he pretends. Sometimes that works to scare the predator away. If that doesn't work, he has one more thing that he can do. And this is where he gets really dramatic. This is where the actor in him really comes out. He will pretend to be dying. So there are some animals that will play dead. Opossums actually play dead. If a predator comes after them, they pretend to be dead, and they think that the predator will leave them alone, because most animals aren't so sure about eating something that's already dead because they don't know why they died. They think maybe it might have been sick before it died, and they don't want to get sick. So they won't eat the animal if they think it died of something not so good. These guys play dead, but first they play dying. So he will lay on his back and he'll flail around. They can actually squirt blood out of their mouth and their bottom, which is super gross. They make this really nasty, stinky smell. It's like an oil that they produce that makes them super stinky. And it will make the predator think that he is dying. And then they play dead. They just go completely limp. And you can pick them up and move them around, and they will not move. They are very convincing that they are a dead snake and they are not good to eat. The only thing that they will do is if you flip them over, because when they're playing dead, they kind of lay on their back like this. And it's fun because when I ask kids to do this, and most animals that play dead the same way. They all lay on their back with their tongue hanging out like this. And that's exactly what he does. But if you flip him over onto his belly, he'll flip back over on his back. He's like, no, I'm dead. You don't want to eat me. It's not a good idea. So that's not as convincing maybe, but the flailing and making the blood come out of his mouth, that's pretty convincing that there's something very wrong with that snake. And nobody wants to eat a snake that's acting that way. That does not look healthy, not a healthy snack. And most predators will look at that and be like, I'm not eating that. And they'll leave him alone. Somebody asked how long he is. I haven't measured him recently. He's definitely not grown in a while. I would say he's about, maybe 1.5 feet. Something like that, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit bigger than that. These guys do not get very big. He is a pretty decent size hognose snake. Now, the females do get larger than the males. So a female would be a little bit bigger than this. And we actually have hognose snakes in Virginia. They are a little bit bigger than the Western hognose snakes. We have Eastern hognose snakes, and they're a little bit darker in color. They mimic a different snake, but they are very similar. They still have that little piggy nose. And from what I've heard, I've never actually found one in the wild, but from what I've heard, the wild ones are even more likely to play dead than the Western hognose snake. Now, I don't get to see Hamlet play dead very often or ever because he's not afraid of people. He's been around people his whole life. He knows I'm not going to eat him. And apparently I'm not that scary. So the only time I ever see him do anything dramatic is occasionally if I wake him up and I scare him, if I go in to clean his house or something like that, I don't realize he's asleep. That's because snakes actually sleep with their eyes open. They don't have eyelids. They can't close their eyes. So I never quite know if he's sleeping. Sometimes he's relaxing. Sometimes he's asleep. So if he's asleep and I open his house up and surprise him, he will do the thing where he flares his neck out and he'll hiss at me really loud. And I always jump. It works every time. I always go, wah! And it always surprises me because he's really loud. But he'll do that, and then he'll see that it's me, and he's like, nah, it's just you, lady. I'm not afraid of you. And then he'll go back to doing whatever he was doing. He's not afraid of people at all. So he never gets scared enough to go into the full drama of playing dead. But the wild snakes, if a wild snake gets startled, they don't know that we're not big, scary predators. And so they will do the full act, which is kind of funny. So you can see he's also flicking his tongue in and out, kind of like Skippy did. He also smells with his tongue. So he's smelling around, he's just sniffing around to see what's out there. All right, cutie patootie. Does anybody have any questions so far? I'll tuck you in here. All right, I think what I'm gonna do then is take you guys outside before it gets too dark. Oh,
I want to ask.
I want to ask a question.
what's your question?
My name is Catalina. Well, I love to eat strawberries,
No, about
and
this thing. Don't talk about this thing. Ask a question.
I love to look for worms.
Ooh, fun.
I give them dirt, and then they just crawl around. And me and Juliana helps me find worms
Okay,
in
let's
the
talk
dirt.
about this thing.
Very cool. That sounds like fun. I like to look for worms too.
We do
Did
have,
you have a?
yeah, have you ever had a sloth live with you? Thomas is curious.
Ooh. I have never had a sloth live with me, but I had the opportunity just a few months ago, just this spring, I guess it was, to go and pick up a few sloths that were getting moved from one zoo to another. A friend of ours has a zoo locally that we do some work with, and they were getting sloths, but they didn't have time to go pick them up. So I got to go and drive to the zoo they were coming from and bring them back. And that was really cool. So I got to babysit some sloths for 2 days while I was driving them back to their new zoo. So that was really exciting because sloths are awesome, but I've never had a sloth live with me for a long period of time. I just got to babysit very briefly. I got to babysit a sloth, which was still pretty cool. All right, I think we're gonna go outside because it's starting to get dark here. So I'm gonna see if he'll jump back in his pouch. Will you get in your pouch, buddy? You wanna come in your pouch? Here you go. Come on. Whoop, there he goes. He's going in. All right, we're gonna take this little monster with us here for just a minute. Oh my goodness, you're so silly. And I'm gonna take you guys outside. Whoop, come on, Gus, you coming with us? Here we go. Hopefully it's not too dark yet. I should have done the outside part first. Oh, it's a little rainy out here too. And we'll do a quick outside visit. It's a little wet out here. All right, I'm gonna turn you around so you can kind of see what I'm seeing here. There we go. And we will go and visit some of our other animals. So like I said, we have a farm here and we're based in Northwestern Virginia. So a lot of our animals do live outside sort of on pasture where they can eat grass because a lot of our animals like to eat grass. Oh my goodness. So we have some farm animals. Well, there's our chicken coop, and this is Parsley. Hi, Parsley. She does not live where she is currently. She is supposed to live over there. You see all those other sheep and goats? That's where Parsley is supposed to live. But Parsley is an escape artist, and she can squeeze herself through the fence, and she likes to come looking for me. Parsley was a baby that was born actually here at the farm, and she was bottle raised. Her mom was one of our oldest goats and didn't have enough milk for her, so we decided to bottle feed her. And so she really likes to be where the people are. She likes her sheep and goat friends, and she actually goes in with them at night to sleep. She'll let herself back into the pasture where they live. But during the day, especially if she thinks that we're going to be outside doing things, she wants to be where we are. So she comes out in the yard and hangs out, and then she puts herself back in with the sheep and goats at night to go sleep. When we go inside and it's not as interesting to be out, she goes in with the sheep and goats. But she's a troublemaker. But we love her anyway. She's a little crazy. So we have a variety of farm animals. We have these guys here, which are miniature zebu cattle. They're actually an Indian breed of cattle, and they're very, very cool. They're small. So this little guy here, Mickey, he's only about 1.5 years, almost 2 years old. So he still has some growing to do. But June over here, she's a full-grown cow. She's actually one of our oldest animals, or whatever, older animals. She's 16 years old this year. We've had her since she was a little baby, and she is wonderful, wonderful babysitter. She takes really good care. She loves all of our younger animals, our small animals, and takes really, really good care of them. But she is full-grown. Most cows, most of the cattle that we have here in the United States, get to be about 2,000 pounds. They're really, really big animals, but these little miniature cattle, they don't get quite as big. But people have them for the same reasons. They use them a lot for milk. Even though they're not very big, they can still make enough milk to feed their baby and then also give some milk to us as well, especially if they're getting enough to eat. So these guys can be used for milk. They also can pull a plow. In a lot of countries, they'll use them to help with their gardening. They're excellent gardeners. Oh, hi, Maisel. Maisel wishes she fit through the fence better too. She wants to come see everything. I know, we see you. she's a little, I have my umbrella here, and she's a little bit excited about the umbrella, I think. She wanted to come smell the umbrella. It's not food. But these guys are some of our other goats that don't know how to get through the fence like Parsley does. And we also have some sheep out here in this pasture. So I know, I see you. She would also like to come out and see us, but she's super sweet. This is Pippi. And Pippi actually came to us. Hi, sweet girl. She came to us this spring with a very large group of lambs that came from a local farm. They had some problems with their lambing, and they ended up having a bunch of babies that needed a mom. And so we bottle raised them here and then found homes for them. And they all went to other places except for Pippi. She stayed here. We decided that we kind of wanted to keep one of them. So Pippi got to stay and be part of our family after all of her brothers and sisters and things went to other farms. And in behind Pippi, you can see we've got a pig. That's Nacho. And Nacho is our old man, Papa Pig. He kind of helps us till up the ground. He loves to dig with his nose, and he kind of cleans up the dirt for us. And hangs out with animals. Pups are incredibly smart animals. They do a really, really good job with learning things. They're very, very fast learners. And they can actually, he was housebroken. He learned to use our doggy door, and he would go in the house, but he was very naughty about getting into the trash. So he spends most of his time when he's not being closely supervised outside with the other animals, which I think makes him happier too, because he loves to dig and play in the dirt and run around with his friends. But every once in a while, he'll still come in the house, but we have to watch him because he is a little bit naughty about getting into the trash. A little bit of a troublemaker. Oh, look, they did come up. Well, hi, guys. Go down here and see these kids. Hi, Barry. What you doing? So on this pasture, we've got our camels, and this is our youngest camel. This is Amos. Hi, bud. Oh, you're all wet. Have you been playing in the rain? You're a little sticky, buddy. They don't mind the rain. They say it's no big deal. We don't mind getting wet. So Amos is our youngest. He's a 2-year-old camel. Oh, and there's, let me flip this around here so they don't end up eating my camera, because they will definitely do that. There we go. And this is Moses. He is a little bit older than Amos. He's 5 years old. Hi, bud. And he is almost full grown, but still not as big as he's going to be. Camels don't stop growing until they're almost 10 years old. And so these guys will actually get quite a bit larger than they are now. You get some of my head. It's nice. We do have some older, larger camels. I think they decided they wanted to be in the barn. I think just like adults, sometimes adults aren't super keen about going out and playing in the mud puddles. But the kids over here, they know where all the fun is, and they'll go out and play in the mud. They don't care. They're like, we're going to stay out here and play in the mud. The big camels are all in the barn where it's dry. They said, we don't want to be wet. But they do get quite large. Camels are super, super cool to work with. They're very, very smart. They remember things forever. And they're one of our oldest domesticated animals. So as humans, we've been living and working with camels for almost over 4,000 years now, which is pretty amazing. Somebody asked if we have to work on their feet. So that's a really good question. A lot of times people with horses and other animals like that, you have to trim their nails a lot. Our horses get their nails, one horse, and our donkeys get their nails trimmed every couple of months at least, depending on the season. These guys actually don't need to have a lot of work done on their feet, and I'll show you why. Let me turn this around one more time here, and we'll show you what their feet look like. So they actually have big, flat, padded feet. So the bottom of their feet looks kind of like a dog's pad. It's just very calloused and rough, so it doesn't get hurt by anything that's sharp. But there's a nice thick layer of fat. Oop, that's your nose. We're looking at your feet right now. There's a nice thick layer of fat in there that spreads out as they walk. And it actually allows them to stay up on top of the sand when they're walking in the desert. It keeps them from sinking in and having to work as hard as a hard-hoofed animal, like horses and even humans, work pretty hard to walk through the sand. These guys have almost like a built-in snowshoe, and it helps them to walk through the sand. Oh my goodness, did you hear that? The fussing going on in the barn? Our bigger camels are arguing over something, probably food in the barn. Camels sound a little bit like Chewbacca. If you guys have watched Star Wars, they sound a little like Chewbacca when they're whining. Are you guys having a disagreement in there? I see you. Come on out. Don't argue with each other. You got to get along. Just like people and just like siblings, these guys all live together. They're not actually related, but they've all been together most of their lives. You see Delilah's chasing him. because they're silly. They've been together most of their lives and they act like siblings. They act like brothers and sisters. And so usually they get along really well. They do want to be together almost all the time. They really enjoy each other's companies, and they are a herd animal, which means they want to stay together. But just like us, sometimes they have different disagreements, and sometimes they like to pick on each other a little bit, especially Delilah, our one female. We only have one girl. All the other ones are boys, and she picks on those boys a little bit. She's the middle camel. She's 10 years old, and she kind of gives the boys a hard time sometimes. So that was Delilah chasing our other camel, Zeke, for no particular reason, probably just because she can. She's a little bit of a bully sometimes. She picks on him a little bit, but she's a very sweet girl, but she does sometimes give him a hard time. All right. Ooh, I don't think I need my umbrella anymore. That's good. Let's set this down. Yeah, we're going to assume we're good. All right. Let me take you back here. We're going to see some of our other animals. Oh, I see somebody who'd like to see us. I'll come here. Does anybody have any questions while we're walking out to see the other guys?
I do.
No, don't. You have to ask a question pertaining to the cows. You can't talk about worms or anything else. Okay. So here is yours.
I like cows because we can milk them to get some milk, and it's fun to do that. It's because you can buy some milk from there, and then you have some milk.
Okay, thank you.
That's exactly right. Yep. People get most of our milk that we get at the grocery store and places like that actually comes from cows. But we have the goats that we met earlier. They actually make milk for people too. So a lot of times people will drink milk from other animals like goats. Sheep can make milk. Their milk is very rich. There are actually some cheeses that are made out of sheep milk. And camels, like the camels we just met, there are places where people drink quite a lot of camel milk as well. So even though in the US, most of the milk that we drink is from cows, there are a lot of other animals that we can get milk from too, which is pretty cool. Oh, somebody asked how old cows get. It varies a lot, but they can get up to about 20. Sometimes you'll see them get a little bit older. Some of it is breed specific. Sometimes late teens, mid-teens is kind of where you get. But hopefully we're hoping we'll get at least 20 from the ones we give. So llamas do produce milk. This is our llama Carl. He would not make milk because only the girls make milk, and Carl is a boy. But llamas do make milk. They just don't make a lot of it. So most people don't milk llamas to drink the milk. But you could get milk from a llama. It would probably, I would think, be a lot like camel milk. So it's definitely a possibility. Somebody asked how many animals we have. We are at about, I think we're at about 50 right now. It varies a little bit depending on who's got babies at the time. Some of our animals we foster, we raise for other places. So actually Wendell, the baby Roo here, he is a foster that we're raising for the other zoo. Like I said before, he'll go back to his home zoo eventually. Are you scared of the pony? You're okay. Can you say hi? She's okay. She won't hurt you. So it goes up and down depending on the time of year and how many babies we have and if we're raising somebody for somebody else. But we're right around 50 right now. Various different species.
We had another question to ask. Do you have a lot of volunteers at the farm?
Few. We have a few, mostly friends of the family. It's mostly a family operation. But as my kids sort of grew up with doing this stuff with us and are now both in college. So now that my kids are gone quite a bit, we have some friends of the family that do volunteer or come out and help us. But we don't have a lot of volunteers, but we do have a few people that have come out and helped us out. It's definitely a lot of work. So it's always nice to have an extra set of hands. The girls. So I'm sort of surrounded here by various animals. I'm trying to think about who to talk about next. But since they're right here behind us here, I'll talk about these guys. These are our Nilgai antelope. They've come up. They have a big pasture back here, but they're hoping I'm maybe going to give them a little snack while I'm out here. I didn't bring you anything, but I'll bring you something in a little bit. Sorry, girls. This is Angela, and that's Penelope. And they're twin sisters. They actually came to us from another zoo out in West Virginia. They had been born, it was really cold out when they were born, and their mom wasn't really doing a very good job keeping them in the barns where it was warm. So the zookeepers were worried about them, and they decided to want to see the camera, to be able to raise them. Hi. And so they actually lived in their giraffe barn, which is pretty cool, until they were a little bit older. And then they came to live with us. And they're super, super sweet. They're so funny. Nilgai actually are an Indian species of antelope. They're one of they're the largest Asian antelope species. And the males actually get this beautiful sort of dark slate blue color, almost a blue-black color, whereas the females are these guys are both girls, so they're more this pretty brown color. But the males and their males also get horns, whereas the females do not. So they're pretty cool animals. Oh my goodness, you are really, really needing some attention here. All right, we're going to talk about them really fast. Somebody asked about armadillos. I don't have armadillos, but it's funny you should ask because I love armadillos. So someday I'm hoping maybe an armadillo decides to come live with us because I think that would be pretty amazing. I think they're really cool. This is another one of our farm animals who apparently has been eating in the hay bale because she's got hay all over her face. This is Brandy, and she is a miniature horse that was actually born here at the house at our farm, and she is our only horse right now. She grew up with our donkeys and was very, very good friends with one of our donkeys. So when our other ponies or mini horses went to go live somewhere else, she stayed with our donkeys, and she's great. She keeps our donkeys on their toes because she is a little spitfire. She likes to run and sort of play jokes on the other animals, and she's very silly and very, very sweet. And so she's very good for the donkeys because they tend to be a little bit more serious about things, and she keeps things light. Somebody asked me if we have any skunks. We don't, and actually that's a really good question. We don't have a lot of animals that are native to Virginia, and that's because it is actually illegal to have animals that are native to Virginia. Even though we are licensed as a zoo, we are not allowed to have animals that are native here unless they are an animal that was brought in from the wild because it had an injury or was a baby that got abandoned or something along those lines, and that needed to be cared for by humans, that then couldn't for some reason be released back into the wild. So if it either had an injury where it had it was missing a leg, or it had something wrong with it where it couldn't care for itself in the wild, or if it was imprinted on people. So if it thought that people didn't know how to take care of itself in the wild. So that would be another reason that it could be in human care and could stay with us. But unless it's an animal that needs care and was originally wild, we're not allowed to have them. And that's why we don't have any animals that are native to Virginia. Someday I would love to get some native species, and skunks are supposed to be really, really fun to work around. But we haven't come across any home yet, so we need those guys. Yeah. Hi guys, can I come in? I know you think everybody thinks I'm bringing them snacks. It's dinner time here. Oop, can we walk over this way just a little bit so I have a little more room? I'm kind of stuck in a hole here. It's dinner time, so everybody thinks I'm feeding them. They're a little disappointed that I'm just coming out to say hi. I will bring you your dinner just a little bit, but we're gonna come say hi to you first. Can we come say hi to you first? You're so sweet. Hi. So these guys are porcupines. They are my African crested porcupines. The one that's trying to eat the camera down here is Penny, is Persephone. And this is Theo, our male, who's sitting in my lap here. And they are super, super cool animals. They're native to Africa. Sweetie, you're going underneath. You're going to poke me here by mistake. They're native to Africa, and they get quite large. They can be about 35 pounds. They live in family groups. So it's usually a mom and a dad like these two, and they've actually had babies. We have a baby of theirs who's just starting to go out on his own. So we've separated him out so he can start being more independent, because he is eventually going to go off to a zoo out in Washington State in a couple of weeks. So he's hanging out with one of our other young porcupines to kind of get used to being on his own a little bit. But these guys are really neat. They burrow, they dig down under the ground. Oh, you're standing on the camera. They dig down under the ground and they make these beautiful homes down there where they live in with their little family groups. And they're very, very careful with their quills because they live in these holes. So they're very close together. And then they are very prickly. They're very, very careful with their quills so that they don't poke each other. So they know to be careful when they're with us with their quills as well. But you can see just how sharp they are. You can see those great big quills on him. Pretty much all of them are on their back end, but they can raise and lower them, and they can run backwards, and they'll actually stab predators with those quills. These guys live where there are lions and hyenas and a lot of predators that would think they'd be a tasty snack. And so they have to be able to protect themselves from those other animals. And they use those big quills to protect themselves. Oh, I don't think the kangaroo wants to come see you, baby. I know. You would like to say hi to him, but he is not so sure about saying hi to you. They also have these wonderful things on top of their head. See this crazy mohawk? That's actually another thing that they use to protect themselves with. He can raise that up and make himself look taller. So if the lion comes at him from the front, instead of from the back where all the dangerous quills are, he can raise this up and the lion will grab him like this and just get hair. And the hair will fall out and he can turn around really fast and show them the business end with all the quills, and it will keep him safe. So even though it's not prickly on the front end, it does help to protect him just by having the extra hair. Oh, I missed that last question, sorry.
Someone is interested in seeing the small porcupine.
Oh, the little one? We can go back and meet him. Hi, buddy. It's starting to get dark out anyway. Does anybody have any other questions about these guys while we walk in? I think we're almost done, but we'll go in and we'll see them really fast before we go. Hi. I got to stand up, Skippy. Oh my goodness. There you go. They're very muddy. Everything's a little muddy because it rained out here. Oh, what's that? Say again?
Where are you from?
I am from Berryville, Virginia. So we're in the northwestern part of Virginia. We're still in Virginia, but we're a little bit we're not super close to where you guys are in Virginia. We're in Berryville, so that's way up north in the top part of Virginia, right up in the northern part of Virginia. All right. Guys, just along for the ride. This is what I'm talking about. See, he should be walking right now and hopping alongside me. Since I'm his mommy, he should be following me, but instead he makes me carry him because he's lazy. He likes to just ride along all the time, but it won't be long. As they get older, they spend more and more time outside the pouch. So eventually he'll spend more time hopping around, but right now he really just likes to be carried all the time. Does anybody else have any questions?
We have reached our time, Jen. If you're ready to wrap it up, that was excellent. We really enjoyed that.
Sure, I will give you a quick peek. We're walking over back to my barn office. I'll give you a quick peek at our not so little anymore little porcupine, and then I'm happy to answer any other questions anybody has. But otherwise, I think we've seen pretty much everybody to them anyway. In here where it's a little brighter. Gus, are you coming in with me, bud? Come on. There you go. All right. I'm gonna hang you up on the door, bud. Can I hang you up for a second? We'll let him just hang on the doorknob here while we go see the porcupines.
I'm kind of surprised to see that you have a healer because they can be rough, right? They're not aggressive dogs, but they play rough, I imagine.
They can. They are bred to work cattle. So their instinct is to sort of nip at an animal's heels. Oh, you want to come over here? I know you're playing in the box. Is that fun? You like that box? Their instinct is to nip at an animal's heels and kind of push them. And the reason that they do that is to help people move cattle from one place to another. But what I found, we've had a number of healers over the years. We've had healers for probably about 24 years now, 25 years. And what I've noticed about them is that they're very smart. And so if you teach them that you want them to work cattle, they will work cattle. But if you teach them that you would rather them do something else, they're pretty good about doing other things. And Gus is actually incredibly gentle with our animals. He will lay down on the ground and in fact, our porcupines all of her baby porcupines love him because he'll lay down on the ground and let them snuggle with him, which they really enjoy. And they'll actually climb up on his belly when he's laying on his side and sleep on top of him. So he definitely is good with those babies. But yes, the healers in general are known for being a little abrasive, a little pushy sometimes, because that's what the breed is for, is to help work cattle, and they have to be kind of tough dogs. But yeah, he's a sweetheart. So this is Tiny Pine. This is the baby who's not such a baby anymore. He's getting to be quite a big boy, but he's still got some growing to do. And he's actually out here with his friend, and this is Pico. And Pico is a Palawan porcupine, so he will not get a lot bigger. He's a very small breed of porcupine, small species. So they're from the Philippines, and they don't get nearly as big as the crested porcupines. But these are my babies. They're still inside for right now. before eventually they'll get moved out. And this guy, he's going to go to Washington State. He has a friend waiting for him all the way out on the West Coast. Yep. So you're going to be a buddy. You have a buddy waiting for you at a new place. It's going to be very exciting. Just like when animals are in the wild, when they get older, their parents kind of expect them to move out and make a life of their own. And so they can't always stay forever with their same family groups. They got to go find their own families. So as with the zoo, we have to find them new places to come and live. So like I said, he's going to a new zoo here pretty soon, in a couple of weeks. It's very exciting. Did anybody else have any questions? I think I might have missed a few.
I had one question. I was just wondering if the animals ever become aggressive, because they get along so well. What is the protocol? What do you do to separate them or to calm them down? Because you're the zoo, like who would you call?
Right, exactly. Honestly, it depends on the animal. It depends on the species. For us, because we have mostly animals that are very, very comfortable with human care, so they're very used to being around us. If there's an issue with aggression between two animals, usually it's on us to go out and be like, it's just like if two kids are fighting, be like, nope, this is not acceptable behavior. And they will, for the most part, they usually listen. They're pretty good about it. Obviously, we've got some protocols depending on what the species is to. If there was, sorry, my camera's shaking because he's chewing on a tripod. Thank you. You're super helpful. Just in an emergency situation, if you've got to like separate two animals that are fighting. But honestly, that almost, I say this and somebody will get in a fight tomorrow, but almost never happens. At least in my experience with it, it's usually, it's like working with a bunch of kids. There are definitely disagreements and there are definitely tiffs that happen between two animals. That we'll have to kind of go, this isn't okay, you've got to chill out. And sometimes that it just involves making them stop and giving them something else to do long enough for them to kind of chill out. And some of the time it involves separating them. And the llama that we went and saw and the cows that we have, for whatever reason, do not get along. And so, when they started disagreeing and the llama would pick at the cows just constantly, we finally were just like, okay, you guys have to live in separate pastures. Now, that's not to say that eventually they may not be able to be reintroduced, but it'll have to be under very strict supervision because he just has a tendency to pick at them. And he's fine with the donkeys, so we just kind of keep them together. Stop eating that. You're very bad.
Thank you. The other question I had was, so do the animals because my sister has like a dog, she has like a dog that's a dad and a daughter. And the daughter, she's kind of like wild because, she's younger than her father. But when the dad gets upset, he'll growl at her one time and she'll just calm down. So are the animals kind of the same? Like, do they know the older animals and they respect them?
Absolutely. Yes, they definitely have. There's a definite hierarchy. And sometimes that's age. A lot of times that's age related. Sometimes it's size related. Sometimes it's just that one animal tends to be a little bit more dominant. But most of the groups definitely have their more dominant animals that will kind of keep an eye on things. We definitely have babysitters. That cow, June, our older cow that we met, she is definitely a babysitter. And I've seen her where the goats will start playing too rough with each other and she'll go break it up. She's like, that's not okay. And she'll go and she'll get between them and make them separate. And they'll, and again, sometimes all it takes is just a moment of like, okay, we got to settle down a little bit. But there are definitely, our donkeys are that
like
way
a
as
big
well.
sister almost.
Yep, exactly. We've got a couple animals that are definitely very, they got a lot of that mom gene. And they'll kind of go in and be like, no, this is not okay. And they kind of keep everybody in line, which is really fun to watch.
Well, this isn't a question, but I've been Zooming for quite some time because of COVID. And this has been my most exciting Zoom ever. I really appreciate it. It's really been nice. I mean, I love
thank
animals. So
you.
this is really cool.
Thank you so much.
Even though I can't smell the animals or feel them, I feel like I'm there with you with the animals. Thank you.
Well, the not smelling them may not be a bad thing. Porcupines in particular having a very distinct odor. I don't mind it, but I find a lot of people think that maybe they smell a little bad. We do not have a Komodo dragon. I just saw that pop up. We do not have we only have a few lizards, but we do have, I do love my lizards.
Excellent.
Weasels and parrots. Yes. We're just babbling on.
No, that's excellent. It's really interesting. I agree with you. It's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We really enjoyed it. And I think we may have lost